Good afternoon, Central Mansfield family and friends. This is the Kids Bible class for the week of May 17th. Today we are talking about how to treat older people that we meet on the road. And by on the road, it refers to our life as Christians. So I'm going to start off by apologizing already for the kitten. She's down here attacking me already because Daddy's not home. So this is where we are right now. I will try not to let it be a distraction. Okay, so the lesson starts by using the word respect and using the word honor and tying those two together. So what I want to do is start with definitions. What does the word respect mean? After much research, by which I mean Googling, I found a definition of respect, which says, due regard for the feelings, wishes, rights, or traditions of others. And what it means by due regard is that due, D-U-E, means that the respect is due somebody because of a reason. I think when we think of respect, we think of our parents first. Respect is due our parents because they're our parents. And then to tie that together with the word honor, which the Bible uses more often, the best definition I could find for the word honor is high respect or regard with high respect. So it's right there in the definition. The words mean very similar things. So keep an ear out for the word honor as we go through our Bible verses today. Okay, so the lesson has a good chunk of it that I want to focus on, where it has groups of people, mostly groups of older people, adults, that we need to honor and respect, and Bible verses that say something similar to that or explain why or just talk about those groups of people. So let's go ahead and go through those groups of people, and that'll be our Bible class lesson for today. The first group of people is parents. I know we've all heard Ephesians 6, 1 through 3 many times in our childhood. Let's look at it again. Ephesians 6, 1 through 3. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with promise, that it may be well with you and you may live long on the earth. Did you hear the word honor? The words I pulled out of those verses were obey and honor. The other verses listed with parents are in Proverbs. Let's go over to Proverbs 1, 8 and 9, which say, my son, hear the instruction of your father, and do not forsake the law of your mother. So hear, listen. As hard as that is sometimes, that's the advice of Solomon in Proverbs. So, words to pull out of those verses: obey, honor, listen. Do those words describe the way we treat our parents? That's the question I think we need to ask. Let's move on to another group of people. After parents, we have elders, and this is talking about church leadership, men who have been named elders by a congregation to lead a congregation. And while we don't have elders at Central Mansfield right now, I think it's still important to understand how we treat people in those roles for the future or when you visit other churches that have them. So let's go over to the first passage in that section, which is 1 Thessalonians 5 and verse 12. 1 Thessalonians 5 and verse 12, which is, we urge you, brethren, to recognize those who labor among you and who are over you in the Lord and admonish you, and to esteem them very highly in love for their work's sake. So, esteem is another honor word. So we can think about that as the same as honor. And then it says highly in love. So even more than just honoring and respecting them, loving them. And the other verse is 1 Timothy 5:17 through 20, which says, "Let the elders who rule well be counted worthy of double honor, especially those who labor in the word and doctrine. For the scripture says, you shall not muzzle an ox while it treads out the grain, and the laborer is worthy of his wages." And then it talks about what to do when an elder does something wrong. But for right now, we want to think about the word honor. Did you hear that word honor? Honor our elders. And again, what we need to think about with each of these groups of people is whether or not the verses that we read accurately depict the way we're treating these people in our lives, these adults. Okay, next is a hard one. Rulers and government leaders. Let's go over to Titus chapter 3, verses 1 and 2. "Remind them to be subject to their rulers and authorities, to obey, to be ready for every good work, to speak evil of no one, to be peaceable, gentle, showing all humility to all men." Okay, that word obey. We don't like that word obey because we like to do what we think is the right thing to do. And letting other people tell us what we need to do is hard a lot of the time. But that's the job of the government. That's the job of the government rulers, is to do exactly that. It also says in verse 2, "Speak evil of no one," and that applies to our government rulers. Let's go over to 1 Peter 2:13 through 17 before we make any application in this section. 1 Peter 2:13 through 17 says, let's see. "Therefore, submit yourself to every ordinance of man for the Lord's sake, whether to the king as supreme, or to governors, or to those who are sent by him for the punishment of evildoers, and for the praise of those who do good. For this is the will of God, that by doing good you may put to silence the ignorance of foolish men, as free, not yet using liberty as a cloak for vice, but as bondservants of God. Honor all people, love the brotherhood, fear God, honor the king." Whew, there's some hard words in there. You heard that word honor a couple more times. Submit is a hard word. That's a word that means to put somebody else's thoughts and opinions over your own is more important, to let somebody else make decisions for you. Submit. It's like obey. We don't like that because we live in a democracy. We don't think about kings very much, but these verses would apply to our president and our government leaders like congressmen and women and senators. And we need to think about those words: obey, submit, honor, speak no evil. And we need to think about those things when we talk about and think about our leaders, our president and our congressmen and our senators, and how we talk about the people that are put in place by God to rule over us. Okay, let's talk about our boss at work. I'm sure you guys, I don't know how many of you guys work or not. But if you have a boss right now, then this applies to you. If you don't, then wait a few years and you probably will. Okay, Colossians chapter 3, verses 22 through 25. "Bondservants, obey in all things your masters according to the flesh, not with eye service as men pleasers, but in sincerity of heart, fearing God. And whatever you do, do it heartily as to the Lord and not to men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the reward of the inheritance, for you serve the Lord Christ. But he who does wrong will be repaid for what he has done, and there is no partiality. Okay, that word obey came up again. But what I want to draw attention to when we're talking about our bosses at work is in sincerity of heart. It doesn't mean doing what they say and grumbling about it, going, oh, I don't really want to do this. I can't believe I have to do this. It means having a good attitude about what you do, about what your boss asks you to do. And that attitude of sincerity is just as important as obeying what you're supposed to do. Okay, let's think about teachers for a little bit. There aren't a lot of verses in the Bible that directly talk about teachers. And we're talking about teachers at school and teachers in Bible class, people who teach you information. Just think about all of them all together in this section, because I don't think the Bible really differentiates between them. Okay, Romans 13 and verse 7 is where the class book takes us. Let's go there. Render therefore to all their due, taxes to whom taxes are due, customs to whom customs are due, fear to whom fear, honor to whom honor. Okay, so you might read that verse and go, what does that have to do with teachers? Customs to whom customs, and honor to whom honor. So teachers are people who are given authority by your parents, and, well, I guess your parents are the main ones, to teach you things. Their jobs are to get you ready for life, for higher education, for jobs, for wherever you want to go, whatever you want to do. Teachers are put in a place of honor by your parents because they allow you to teach. They allow you to learn. They teach you things. So what we're thinking here, attaching it to this verse, is that teachers are put in a place of honor. So we are to honor them because they're put in a place of honor. That's what this honor to whom honor. Give therefore honor to whom honor is due. That's what we're thinking with that verse. If you can find any more verses about teachers, feel free to share them with me. That would be pretty cool. We can talk about that more if you want to. Okay, and everybody. The last category is everybody, all mankind. Those who are lost, those who are saved, all people. Let's go back to 1 Peter 2:17. That's been one of my favorite passages lately. 1 Peter 2 and verse 17, which says, honor all people, love the brotherhood, fear God, honor the king. Those are all really hard things to do sometimes. Honor all people, love the brotherhood, fear God, honor the king. So we're supposed to honor everyone. And you honor some people differently than you honor other people, but that doesn't mean that it's any less important. So think about that. And then let's go over to Colossians 4, 5, and 6. That's the other verse in this section. Colossians 4, 5, and 6. And this one refers more to those you meet in the world who don't know about Christ. Walk in wisdom toward those who are outside, redeeming the time. Let your speech be always seasoned with grace, seasoned with salt, that you may know how you ought to answer each one. Let me read that again because I fumbled over it. Let your speech always be with grace, seasoned with salt, that you may know how to answer each one. There we go. Um, walk in wisdom. Let your speech be with grace. So what that means is walking in wisdom. That's a hard one. That's kind of what the book of Proverbs is all about. It's more than just one thing you can learn. It's wisdom. Learning and learning and learning and learning and learning, and then learning how to apply that knowledge. But the idea is to walk carefully, kindly, and wisely with people who don't know about Christ. Because to people who don't know Christ, we may be the first interaction they have with people who serve Christ, and that's a big deal. We could be the representatives of Christ, for lack of a better word, because we are his children. So if we're acting the way that he wants us to be acting, then we're walking in wisdom, and our speech is graceful. We can go back to that acronym, the THINK acronym. True, helpful, inspiring, necessary, kind. Think. That's what our words need to be. Okay. Now let's think about all of these groups of people. Parents, elders, rulers, our boss at work, teachers, and everybody we meet in the church and outside of the church. These words keep popping up over and over again. Honor, obey in a lot of categories. Speak no evil, speak with grace. Do those words describe how we treat these people? Because if not, we really need to think about that. Okay, you guys, that was the lesson. I hope it was helpful. We didn't get too many interruptions from the cat, so that was good. I hope you guys are having a great week.